Happy Friday night. Happy Halloween weekend, everyone. Welcome to the show. We're just going to.
Hang
So,
out
Courtney,
and have fun.
yes,
The
we're going to
leaves
have
are
fun.
falling.
Yes.
Halloween is calling. It's Friday night. We're feeling all right. Yeah.
So, how was your week, Courtney?
Lucky, I do want to say, I did that fundraiser for the hurricane relief,
Yes.
and we were able to raise $800.
Excellent. Excellent. It was close to your
Yeah,
goal.
and yeah, dude, I'm able to get like uh a ton of blankets, um, a ton of gloves, a ton of just things for kids, like all sorts of different stuff that sometime during this week I'll be bringing it to the people that I know are boots on the ground that can get it definitely to others that need it. So that was a lot of my week was like, okay, which is a miracle. It's amazing that in one weekend we were able to do that. In one weekend, that kind of money came through, and it just shows the human spirit. As in, somebody put a meme out there saying like, hey, when if the apocalypse ever comes, it's not going to be those in their bunkers, it's not going to be those that have hoarded everything for themselves that survive. It's going to be people coming together. And that's what, Hurricane Helene has taught, and everybody can witness that. And so it's great, the response. So that was my week in a lot of ways, was taking care of the logistics of that stuff. I guess I should say.
Yes. Yes, I can understand that.
Yeah. And so all that stuff will be, and I'll do a little video on my channel, Stars of the Morning Light. Like I'll film all that's going out. I will show people where the efforts lie, and the girl I'm working with is Tree of Life Farms down further into Georgia. And I know she's been collecting diapers, wipes, all sorts of stuff. So we're going to kind of combine forces as well.
That's wonderful. That is beautiful. That is
Yeah.
great. Few people, welcome Lori Elderkin. Welcome a happy hippie. Welcome Seeker of Truth too. And welcome Witchy Moon. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, welcome.
Welcome.
I
Thank you
do
for
have the,
coming.
I'm watching the chat, Lucky.
Excellent. Ooh, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do see myself. So I want to say, everybody, how it looks on Lucky and I's end right now is that I do not see myself, but I can see that you see me. And so that's all that matters. So if I kind of might pause or something, it's because it's easier when you can see yourself do things.
I can understand that. I can understand that. Yes. So
How was your week, Lucky?
it was interesting. Typical structure and conflict around me, and I just kind of try to stay out of it. I'm very lucky where I tend to get in the middle of conflicts, but it doesn't. I kind of like a duck, just kind of washes off of me. But everyone else tend to get involved, and I try to stay. I use a lot of. I need more of the story. Seems to be one sided. I need more information. I
You're a
use it a
lucky
lot.
duck.
Yeah, it's the only way I can express it because people tend to like conflict and they like to come to me and try to drag me into their conflict, and I'm always much more. I think I need more information before I make a decision, and then I don't make a decision because it seems personal and
Right. It's not
work.
your
Work should be
decision to
work.
make. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like
Um,
interpolitics. Company politics is silliness.
yeah. All politics is silliness.
It is the truth. All politics, whether it be company politics or interpersonal politics or politics, it's all like sports.
Yeah.
It's really not that important in
Yes.
the end. Eventually, it all
Right.
goes away and changes. Everything changes eventually.
Everything changes. So Lucky, tonight is our Halloween episode. So happy Halloween, everyone. And we're telling personal scary stories, right, Lucky?
Yes, these are stories from our lives. I'm going to honestly say the third story, which is the most intense, I'm telling from a third person. I'm like telling a story for someone else, but it is my story. But it was so personal for me to write it. I needed to pull myself away. So that story, although this is a personal story, I just needed to step back a bit. I don't know how else to explain it, but
Mm-hmm.
it is
No, I
all the
understand.
stories. Yeah, all these stories are about me, about my life. But the third one I'm going to tell as um, I refer
Like
to
a
myself
third
as the
person.
boy. Yeah, as the boy or
Yeah.
the son. I'm not sure how I referred to myself, but I needed to step back and be a non-partial observer of the situation because it was pretty
Yeah.
intense.
Do you think that because you're saying that you kind of like rewrote it or looked at it, do you or maybe you just bullet point it, but do you think it then gave you another perspective too as to what happened? Or
It
like more came in your memory, you know?
yes, that was to it was hard to remember it, but when I pulled myself as a third partial observer, observing it from outside, I was able to see more of it and try to hash it out and I think tell it better. And
Yeah.
the initial story was, uh, uh, I think more aggressive than I needed to be. I wanted to be more of telling a story and have everyone be their best self.
Well,
It's hard to
my
explain.
goodness, Lucky. Why is that going to be number three? We just gave it such a good intro. Can we start with number three? I mean,
Absolutely not. Why would you take your big sell? The most important thing you got to put at the end so people watch to the end. Oh, but no,
oh,
I
I
worked too
see.
hard on this to drop it in the
The
beginning and
anticipation of
anticipate.
it. I
The other ones
see.
are pretty to me. I mean, honestly, my house that I live in right now is haunted because I kind of brought some of them in, but they are so friendly, kind, relaxing. There's nothing, exciting
Scary
about the
about
yeah,
it.
yeah. There's nothing
Yeah.
exciting with the stories about my ghost in my house right now. And some of the first stories are kind of. Oh, the second one's intense, but the first one is
Okay.
told kind of funny.
Dude, okay. Thank you everybody for coming in the chat. We
Yeah.
appreciate you. Happy Halloween, happy Friday. Thanks for being with us. I think everybody settle in because
Okay.
Lucky apparently is going to take us for a ride. And I got stories too. So everybody settle in, have a good time. Lucky, I say take it away, man, because you got me like all wanting to hear now. You built that up. You built up all of it. You're like, well, the third one's very suspenseful. Oh, well, actually, the second one's intense too. So I don't know where we're going, Lucky. Lay it on us.
Okay.
Spooky stories.
I'm gonna start with the first one because I think it's kind of sweet. Uh, I'll just tell it.
Yeah.
When I was a kid in preschool, I had an imaginary friend. He was probably a preteen, 10 to 12, probably 8 to 12-year-old boy. We're not quite sure. He had a pet dog. This was a boy and a dog imaginary friend.
Oh.
And I spent a lot of time with this imaginary friend, taking, because I lived near a river. I used to go fishing. Again, a preschool child being trusted to go fishing by himself was kind of weird, but it was the 70s, so things were a little
Mm-hmm.
different. But I always had this little boy, and this little boy and his dog had passed away and drowned in this river during winter. From my story,
Wait,
yes,
wait, 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 wait. Like recently, a
no,
recent
hundreds,
drowning, or like a
hundreds,
long time ago?
hundreds, hundreds of years, 1800s.
Oh my goodness.
He was walking on the ice. He fell in. Dog went with him because try to save his master, and they both
Yeah.
passed away together. And because of the farm I lived on, next to the street was a cemetery, and technically that
Right.
cemetery was on my family's property, the farmland. The front of the whole
Right.
property, the driveway went next to it, and then went to the house, and in the front of the
Right.
property was the graveyard,
Oh
the
my
cemetery.
goodness.
Graveyard is a church, but cemetery
Yeah,
with,
yeah,
and
yeah.
no one, it's an old cemetery, and the boy, his gravestone was in the back. It's a big gravestone, but because of time, it's kind of hard to read. It's kind of washed out. So everything I know is directly from this imaginary friend. Um,
Oh my goodness.
and so yeah, and initially he would fish with me. He would hang out with me. It was probably more of a watchful thing because he drowned in this river, the same river, very close to where I was fishing. My protector. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
he was telling me things that a small preschool child should not know. And I was passing this information off to my parents and my grandparents because my grandparents actually lived next door. These are 10-acre.
Right.
It was like four 10-acre houses,
Right.
10-acre lots of my grandparents, my mother's house, my aunt's house, and my aunt's house. They all lived on the river.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Family property. I get
so
it. Yeah.
so all the families, all the cousins played together, but I was the kid with the weird imaginary friend who gave information that eventually got people concerned. And
Okay. Is
eventually,
that
yes,
Go ahead, Lucky. I'm sorry.
eventually I was brought to the church to talk to a priest. And I said some things to the priest that caused him to be a little bit on the shock side. And he demanded that we don't discuss the imaginary friend anymore. Um, my parents put
This
in
is
my
the imaginary friend, Lucky, because we've heard you talk about what happened.
right.
We have heard. We've heard it a few times. And it's basically you were kind of shut down and a bit shunned from the church
Yeah,
because you have
yes,
this gift. I
yes,
never knew that it was a little boy. I never knew that who you had been talking to and giving you this information was a little boy.
yes. He was a little
Oh
boy
my goodness.
who very protective, very kind, but he might have told me things that I shouldn't be talking to parents about, and maybe
Mm,
too advanced or something. Because he was also, even though he was preteen, he probably had some experiences and learned from it, and I'm not quite sure. He was passing on information that I shouldn't have had, and the parents were concerned, the church was concerned, and
right.
demanded my parents tell me that I cannot play with this child anymore. Don't discuss him anymore. Don't allow me to play with him anymore. If they see me, and so I had to keep it. Anytime I did interact with him, I had to keep it a secret. And then it became that with my cousins and my neighbors, other kids were told not to allow me to play with the little boy and to try to stop me. And that's kind of where it
Oh,
shut it down.
darling.
So I
Well,
was kind
then,
of,
Lucky, every time, because we have heard the church part of that before, but now the story's bigger. It was not just, they also took away, essentially, you're probably a great friend and told everybody you can't have this friend. So it
it was
wasn't
something that,
just you
yeah,
know,
he was
wow.
he was not a disembodied spirit. He was a physical person that I could interact with, and I did not know of him as actually a ghost. And to the
Mm-hmm.
church, he was a demon. He was a monster. He was something that, and they tried to instill fear into me. And of course, the cousins and the aunts and the grandparents, they were terrified of what I was doing with this thing. To them point of view,
Wow.
which I
Right,
mean,
right,
so,
right,
but to
right.
me, he was just a friend.
A kid. Yeah, just a
Yes,
friend. Okay, see, that puts a little bit of different light on it, too. I mean, all the backstory, that kind of shines even more light onto it. I mean, that would be another layer of like trauma, you know? And then is that when you learned to like oh, there must be something maybe different about me. If nobody else can see this kid, talk to this kid, that sort of thing, like I must have something different about me.
I never understood why no one else could see him.
Okay.
I do remember that because I did relive some of the stuff, and I remember back then I could never understand why they couldn't see what I could see.
Mm.
I mean, it's a boy and his dog, and the dog reminded him very much like Petey from the Little Rascals.
Mm.
He was probably some kind of pit mix or American
Yeah.
bulldog or
Yeah.
something, but he was more likely some kind of a mutt-ish because he was hairier, like more of a
Mm-hmm.
golden retriever hairier, but again, not that long. It was just, it's hard to explain what this dog was because he also was just
My,
a black and white, grayish, weird kind of dog. He really didn't have a solid color because he was a physical dog, but didn't his color kind
yeah,
of
no, we get it. Well, he
effervescent
was a
or
ghost dog.
iridescent. He was there. He was not
Iridescent.
spirit
Yeah.
clear, transparent. He was more of reflective and shiny, and his color would change because
Mm.
just like anything iridescent will change in the sunlight, he would just change with the spirit. I guess I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure this out.
No, no, no. I mean that's a great word for it. Iridescent.
It was
You know, animals. What's really sweet and endearing about this story. So I actually am happy that you started with this. You know, it's sweet. It is endearing, and it's showing that you've had a gift since you were a kid. You know, that you were capable of seeing things and experiencing things at a young age. And it's kind of sweet and endearing to know that the dog also stayed with his owner, the boy. You know, the dog and the boy stayed together, even though they didn't transition together. They did at least stay together. That's sweet.
yeah, yes, and
Yeah.
it is it was a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's also where, for a long time, my parents would go to church, and I would sit with the nuns at the Sunday school when Sunday school was actually not during church. There was church time, and then afterwards, the kid would go to Sunday school, but I would stay with the nuns, who absolutely adored me. The nuns were great. Nuns were
Because you were
fantastic.
probably a good, well mannered, polite kid who just spoke about adult stuff. Those nuns have run into a bunch of different kind of flavors of kids. They
Yeah.
understood you.
The
Yeah,
priests were not as supportive, but the nuns were very supportive. Um,
exactly.
and later, I moved out. I After college, I was having trouble finding permanent positions, but back then it didn't matter if you didn't have insurance. So I would get gigs, short time gigs, and I would make big money for short time working temp jobs. So I would basically work 3, 6 months, then run away to Canada. Well, one of these trips to Canada, which once I'm in Canada, I'm basically incommunicado because this was in the 90s, mid 90s,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm gone in Canada unless I call my family, which there was no reason to call my family. I'd be up in Canada for 2 or 3 weeks. Well, one of these times, my sister and her husband and my nephew, they had to move out of their apartment and move into with my mother and live in the family home until their house was ready, which was going to be late spring up into early summer. Well, one day, my nephew came to my sister and said, "The boy in the basement says hi, and he's looking for," and he came out of my old room. They weren't staying. The idea was my nephew was supposed to move into my old room. He came out of
Right.
my old room, said to my nephew, "Where is," and it was a childhood name which nobody knew. Nobody spoke. It was a name that it was specifically to me. And at which point, when I came home across the border, and I think I had a cell phone. I had just had a new cell phone, so that's one of the times where you don't make calls unless you really need to.
Yeah.
I had my voicemail was full. Once I crossed the border, I clicked on to AT. It was AT&T. Doesn't matter what it was. Once I got into Signal with AT&T, I'll say AT&T because it's easier back then. my messages were full, just absolutely full.
Right. So you're
And
thinking this is something serious, like something happened to mom or whatever. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
the message was, come home. You've got to come home, because at that point, my family knew that I had psychic abilities. The aspect, they also knew the story of my imaginary friend. And then to be shocked into this imaginary friend and the old story, and the imaginary friend actually said his name, which was Charlie. He said the name was Charlie,
Yeah.
telling my nephew. And so my sister and my mother demanded I come home and deal with this thing because it's scaring your nephew. So I drove 4 4 hours from the Canadian border to home. Wasn't going. I had to tell my friends I won't be at the apartment. I got to deal with some family stuff. At which point my son, my nephew was pleased as punch, because he didn't understand that this boy wasn't physical. He
Right.
thought this boy lived in my old bedroom,
Right.
and to him, he was probably 4 or 5 at the time. He
Right.
was very close. He was probably younger than I was when I was to talk to. Actually, I
Yeah.
talked to him a long
Yeah.
time. So so and my mother and my sister demanded I get this spirit out of the house. Well, back then I didn't take spirits out of houses. I never took spirits out of houses because this kid was kind. You don't, unless they want to go to light, you don't send them to the light. Hello, Max Vision. Hello, John. So yeah, so that was the thing where, and then I also didn't have the ability to see him. So I came and I talked to him and I said, okay, Charlie, I'm here. If you want to go to light, I can help you. And he says, no, thank you. And it was, it's kind of heart wrenching the way he said, no, thank you. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, please don't send me away. That kind of,
Mm-hmm.
please, no, no,
Mm-hmm.
thank you. So I said, okay, we have to make, a deal. And so I went to my nephew and said, does this boy bother you? And he says, no, absolutely not. I said, well, we're going to have, which is the worst thing I could ever done. I know this in hindsight. I told him, we're going to have to keep this a secret. You have the ability to see him. The other people don't understand that. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, with me, the secret worked out fine. With letting this little 4-year-old kid have the secret away from his parents, it was something that he didn't quite grasp. And as he got
Right.
older, um, at one point he was telling me that I was encouraging his imaginary, thing. But I said the only imagined thing was when he was living in the house.
Um.
And I said, I am sorry. I just didn't know what to do with this.
Mm.
And
Oh, Lucky. Hello. So hi everyone. Lucky disappeared, and it's just me apparently. So that was an interesting ending to Lucky's story. The little boy and his dog did not want to move on, and Lucky's nephew was born with gifts, but then, they slowly probably diminished away as the family wouldn't accept it, as many, I'm sure, of you in the chat can relate to that.
I'm
Hi,
back.
Lucky. Oh,
Yeah,
don't worry, buddy. I got your back, bro.
no, it's my mouse. I have a mouse, and Hi Bob, hi Robert, Ventures, and hello Dan. Welcome Dan.
Yes, a great
So
time to say hello to everyone in the chat. We've got John Price, Seeker of Truth, Deborah Sloan. We got so many people. Danny, a happy hippie Robin. Oh my goodness, this is great. I love it. I love it. I love it. And they're all saying, welcome back, Lucky.
yes, so it was interesting. And it's still something. My nephew and I still have a bit of a. He's actually recovered from it, but at one point he was. A few short years ago, he was into drugs. He got off of them. He's successful. He's got a good job. He recovered. And, he says later that the drugs were his problem. It was not the fault of the little boy, the ghost boy, but he needed excuses for the stuff, some of the things he acted, and he
Ah,
apologized to me. But I'm
right.
like, I know I never should have pushed a 4-year-old child to have secrets from his parents.
To have
But
secrets, right.
and he said honestly, I don't know how I would do it if my son came up with this, because this is something that none of us. So yeah, my nephew and I both have the gift that none of the other families seem to have, except for my grandmother who had passed away.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was it.
Well, and
Yeah,
if
that was it.
he,
Yeah.
if he ever wants to tap back in, he can end up talking to you about it. I think that's a nice story. Here's the thing, like when I asked Brad tonight, I was like, "Hey, babe, supposedly I'm telling spooky stories. What do you think? Like, you know me, we've been together forever. What's some stories?" And he started talking about some ghost girl, blah blah blah, and I was like, "That's not scary." And then my husband turned to me and said, "Courtney, you don't understand. For a lot of people, any ghost, anything is scary. Even if it's a gentle boy and his dog, even if it's a, wild girl that was bothering me, you know, it's still scary to people because it's just a ghost." So I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Well, okay, Brad. I'm sure I got something better." But he tries to get me to understand, for a lot of people, that stuff is scary. Even if it hasn't done anything. It doesn't
Oh,
have to do
absolutely.
anything. That just the fact that you're capable of seeing it, that, it's that out of sight, out of mind. Ignorance is bliss type of thing. I don't want to know. So then when we do say something, just just a simple dog and his boy is scary to people. So I all these stories are gonna end up being having a little bit of something for everybody, you know?
Oh, and I forgot there was one more part of this story where earlier, just probably about 5 years before that, I had a girlfriend and I brought her, which I shouldn't have done because I lived in my mother's house, had a girlfriend. This is basically college time. And we were in my bedroom, which we shouldn't have been sneaking in my bedroom, but whatever.
Bad
And
boy.
I trusted this girl, and she talked about psychic ability and stuff like that. So I told her the story about my imaginary friend. And we're sitting on my bed and talking, and she's like really fast. I told her all about the story about it. And it was, and then of course, there's that lull, the quiet, because we were both uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
This is a new
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we both felt a hand grab our ankles
Oh, from the
eh,
bottom of the bed?
under the bed,
Oh, hell no, dude. No.
grab our hands, like hairy hands,
No!
grabbing our ankles. So, um,
You got rid of that one, didn't you? And
the,
I don't
the,
mean the thing under the bed, because that might have came with her, Lucky.
no, well, here's the thing: the bed didn't have. It was a water bed, which you just share. There was nothing to hide
Yeah, yeah,
under.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
and because she screamed, and I'm like, she says, yeah, I felt like a werewolf grabbed my ankle, so that ended. And actually, that ended. The rest of ended pretty much ended after that. And turned up years later, I found out that the boy when he had died in winter, he had these ratty hand like gloves. So they're all like wool. So he
Oh,
grabbed our ankles with mittens as a joke.
right. Because he
Years
didn't understand you were trying to, have some alone time with a lady friend.
or he did and thought this isn't going to work out good because she was kind of tapped on the head anyway. So it was probably I also girl, I want to be with a girl, great, yeah, and her. It might have been again. He was a very protective individual, so grabbing our ankles with a hairy hand with mittens. But that took
Yeah.
years. That took years to figure out what the hairy hand was, and it was only
Okay.
one and done. And I never told anyone about that because my family would have freaked out the hairy hand
Yeah.
under the bed situation. But yeah, and that it goes with this. Yeah, that was a weird part of it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that was probably the most intense thing for this story.
Oh. Ooh, ooh. I wouldn't. I don't think anything's ever grabbed my ankles from. So, especially, I don't know how I would react in today's world. That's why my house is on like permanent lockdown because I just don't let anything enter without my permission, you know? Um, because I don't even know how I would react as an adult. As a young person, I would have been fighting. Like I would have like reacted in some horrible like I wouldn't like I would have gotten scared, but it would have been that immediate reaction of like I'm punching the bed or something. I don't know what I would have done. I don't think that's ever happened to me. Ever ever. I've had stuff with my bed. That's one of my stories. It's a story that I refer to as the Watchers because that's what my mom called them. But nothing's ever grabbed me from under the bed. I would have probably have fought and then ran and then never entered the bedroom again. I would have just walked away. I'll sleep on the couch for the rest of my life. I'm
Well,
good.
to be honest, since I was talking about my imaginary friend, I had an idea that he might have been the source of it because there was nothing aggressive or mean or negative about it, but there
Mm,
was definitely it was very definitely a prankster kind of situation. So I believe that
yeah,
that was one of the things he was doing.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Should I tell the story of the Watchers now that I mentioned it? I didn't know if we were going to be piggybacking or what
Yeah,
we were
yeah, yeah.
doing.
Let's jump into yours. Yes, yes.
Okay. So welcome everybody. Good to see folks. Happy Friday night. I have to say lucky for like my stories because these are personal stories. These you're sharing and expressing your stuff and I'm sharing and expressing mine. I have to kind of say a little bit of a preface to those who are born gifted and probably also like kind of more so gifted. Like when I was born, I had all of the gifts. I, let a lot of it just fall away from me and chose things that I wanted to work on. But that also means that a lot of things will come to try and be an influence to those that have gifts, right?
Mhm.
Or, sway them, take them over, whatever. Influence. And you'll get those stories all the time, and I'm sure some of yours might have something to do with that as well. Of like, you know, so a lot of my, well, the Watchers. I'm going to talk about the Watchers, and these are demons. So I'm trying to go into. We're talking about demons here, folks. When I was a little kid, and I mean little, we moved into this house when I was 3 years old, and I think my mom had the conversation with me when I was about 4 or 5. So 5, 6, 7. By the time I was 8, we were out of there. So I must have been maybe 4 or 5. And my mom was making dinner one night, and I'm sitting there at the table, and she just turned to me and she said, "Hey, Courtney, do you ever see like black figures standing by your bed when you're trying to sleep?" And at first, I didn't say I didn't. I was just like, no, because children are gonna lie. By the way, I was a liar because I'm not gonna tell her that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so it's just like, no, I'm good. I'm fine. And then maybe a week or two later, it was during the daytime, and she sat me down and she said, "Courtney, do you see black figures standing at your bed?" And I just kind of looked at her and did one of the whole like, why? Why? What's going on? And she said, because Courtney, they came to me when I was a child, and when I was going to the bathroom a couple of weeks ago, passing your room, because my bedroom was right next to the bathroom, door is cracked, I'm a little kid. She said, when I was passing your door to go to the bathroom, I saw one at your bed, watching you. And I kind of then just went, yeah, mom, they're there almost every night. And she told me, Now, this is like not the name for them, but it's the name I call them because it's what I was, got used to. She called them the Watchers. And she didn't understand what they really were. I don't think my mom was gifted a lot like you, Lucky. A lot. My mom and you are very similar in gifts and personality, to tell you the truth. Must be Pisces thing and just who you are. Um, I don't think she really knew what was going on, but she explained it as they're watchers. And they won't harm me, they won't do anything to me, but they will stand there and watch.
Hmm.
And these things are, you can kind of imagine like shadow creatures, but with like a pointed head. So, like, think of like pointed black figures that just, kind of slender with a point, just standing at your bed. And she would tell me, one or two of them would come and visit her when she was a child. And this is when she started telling me, you have to tell them, Courtney, that you choose the light. That's all you have to do. Tell them you choose the light. And I'd be like, okay, okay. What she didn't know is like that one eventually turned to two, to three, to four, to five, to six. My whole bed, it was up against a corner, the whole bed would be surrounded.
Oof.
It wasn't just one or two. And as a little kid, you're laying there, and I'm like, man, my mom says to tell him I'm going to choose a light. So I started like psychically, telepathically telling these things. I choose the light. I choose the light. A child, you don't even know what that means. We didn't grow up with any religion, any God. I was told study them all and choose yourself. But I'm also a child, 4, 5, 6-year-old kid going through this, right? So I'm like, I choose the light. I choose the light. Well, over the years, I will tell you, the more angry I got because of my home life and this kind of stuff, this is just a little bit of it. Um, it turned into not just I choose the light, it also turned into I am bigger than you, I am stronger than you, which I do not suggest people egg these things on or egg anything on. But it's like I would say, I'm bigger than you, I'm stronger than you, you got to go, I choose the light, I choose the light. The one thing that came out of it is what I know now as an adult, and I actually learned this by the time I was, in my teen years, because they then would kind of walk, I mean, they would, it wouldn't be a permanent thing. It would be once in a while, they would pop in to see. Once in a while, and I'd be like, I told you I chose the light. You can move on, go somewhere else. I'm
Hmm.
sure there's a bunch of kids out there that are gifted. Go away, you know. Um, so by the time I was a teenager, I understood what they were. I understood that it is actually a demonic force that is trying to take someone that is gifted and be the influence within their life so they can use that person's gifts in the way that they choose, right? We know how this works. I mean, we're all adults and mature, knowing people here. But the fact that I was taught that they won't do anything to you, that they'll just watch. Because my mom was a very passive medium. She was a very passive, and I think it's because she kind of only had to deal with like the bare minimum. Like sometimes some scary stuff, some ghosts, this and that. She didn't have six demons outside, right at her bed. And so I'm not trying to discount what my mom would say. I don't think she knew any better. I don't think she had the resources, the knowledge, because it didn't matter if it was a ghost, a demon, whatever it was. I would go, hey, we got to get this out of the house. As I was growing up, we got to get this out of the house. And she would always be like, well, I don't know what to tell you, babe. Or it'll be fine. Just let it be. It'll go away eventually. I realized later, as I think I actually spoke to her about it, she admitted that she didn't know what to do.
Hmm.
other than to say I choose the light. So, in one hand, I was like, dang, gifted children really do need resources, right? Because they might be dealing with stuff that uh, their adult parents do not understand. But then at the same time, I went, choosing the light is the best answer to everything. Choosing the light and telling everything I choose the light really worked out for me, definitely by the time I was a teenager, because choosing the light got very, I guess, sticky there for a while because these influences still were lingering, and that's how they operate. And so choosing the light, I guess that was how that worked. But that's, dude, I spent, and that's not even just, that's just me as a little kid.
Hmm.
That's just me as a little kid. These black demons, they are demons. It's a probably about a second tier demon. Um, that's their job is to find the gifted ones and find those that they can influence and just hang out long enough to find that crack, to find that opening, to work their way in there, or find the crack and opening for another demon to work its way in there. I mean, that's how they operate. So I grew up with those being called the Watchers.
Hmm.
Yeah. Did you ever experience that? Anything like that? Like
No,
watching
no,
you?
the dark ones tend to stay far away from me. I don't know why. I've seen them, but they usually just stay. I mean, I've seen really big ones, as tall as a house, and
Yeah, dude.
they've been like
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
like a couple 100 feet away, but
Yeah.
they don't approach. I've seen the small ones, which the big ones I don't feel as scary, which is a weird thing. It's like seems like the bigger they are, the less powerful they are. The little ones, I
Mm-hmm.
can feel negativity from them a lot more. And again, they also kind of avoid me. It might just be I might be projecting the wrong energy, so they kind of like, okay, fine, let's have a standstill. I don't really know much about them, but yeah, I have seen them, but I have not really interacted with them. Well,
Yeah. They go also, I think, for the kids who are not just gifted, but also hold a lot of anger.
hmm. Oh yeah,
So,
oh yeah.
because that's the crack to get in. And I held a lot of anger. I mean, I was breaking kids' noses in fourth grade already. I mean, like,
Oof.
I held a lot of anger. So they were just waiting. When's that crack gonna wide? When's she gonna get even open to us fully taking over? So I think it also is that degree of like what's going on with that individual. Yeah.
Yeah, it is very interesting how they do interact and how they choose. These are just energy they're kind of like energy parasites where they just looking for where they can get their next
Yeah.
who they can
Yeah.
manipulate next.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So that's my story of the Watchers. That's my um that was a consistent in my life from at least I can't, I know we moved into that house when I was 3. I know we left that house when I was 8. I would say at least until 10 years old. Then it slowly kind of faded into periodically. And then by the time I was a teenager, they did like one mighty try, push to get me to, tumble over. A lot of things tried to when I was a teenager. Um, and I didn't go for it. So I think they moved on. Yeah. Yeah.
Who's good? Who's good?
This is good. Choose the light. This is now people might understand why I'm stars of the morning light. Cause damn, if you just opened your eyes, you better choose some light. Go look at it. Go be with it. Cause there is stuff out there. This is not even half. This is like low key what I've been through as far as demons.
Hmm.
Damn demons. Hey,
Okay.
all the patrons know that it's like, geez, Courtney does know a whole lot more about demons than anything else, and it's like, yeah, because I had to fight them like my whole life. It sucks.
Yeah. Whew. Ready for my second story, which actually might be a demon. I'm not quite sure.
That's what I was thinking. That's why I was like, we should talk about mine so you could jump into yours. I think it might be.
Yeah, this one was probably 2000, maybe 99 to 2001. I'm not sure, but back those days, I used to hang out at an old bar, and it was haunted. And I used to talk about, and I used to tell the owner, what do you want to do? And he wanted to keep the good ones because the waitresses, they were used to them, and they'd see like a woman reading books in the corner when
Mm,
there was no books where she was reading. And so I would tell them, you just tell them, as long as you're kind, as long as you're, peaceful, you may stay. And if you don't want them, negativity, please go. You're not welcome here. Negativity, go. You're not welcome. And that worked for him. Great. But there was a friend of mine wanted to date this girl. But this girl asked me because I seemed to know so much that she had bought a house for pretty cheap. And
ooh.
this house she thought she bought for cheap because it was a fixer upper, but it
Yeah.
just didn't feel right. And she wanted me to help her to meditate and fill the house with positive energy. And I'm like, yes, I can do that. So the first thing, of course, we came to her house. We were gonna meditate on her backyard, but her neighbors were around, and we'll just positive. We'll get the positive energy around your neighborhood, around your house, starting
Yeah.
from east, moving south, west, north. Easy peasy, positive energy. Then we get into the house. And yes, I could feel something in there, but I go, of course, also, she told me that she felt negativity there. So I'm like, maybe I'm,
Right.
yeah, maybe I'm feeling with it out there. So let's go to the top floor and just positive energy down the whole thing. Boom. So the
Lucky,
top
can
floor,
I say something? When you're telling the story this way, I'm picturing you like Mighty Mouse, like coming in and saving the day and spreading everything with light and love. I gotta tell you, that's wonderful.
it was more honestly to help my friend. I was being a wigman for my friend. And of course,
Mm,
which made it a lot easier to interact with some people because I had no interest in her, no dating, no nothing. I just wanted to help her out. And also, she recognized me as safe because I had a girlfriend up in Canada, which I used to go to Canada. And so I was really safe. So having this
okay,
strange, weird
totally.
guy in her house helping her meditate, it just didn't seem weird, I guess. We talked about it later and why this ever happened. But so we go to our top floor, which was an open attic, which basically was going to be an attic, which was big, all wide open, was going to be like a bedroom, all attic, wide open. The stairs go to the
Mm-hmm.
top, boom,
Yeah.
open storage area, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I bring my box, and I had in my box a big white sheet lay down
Okay.
because the white light, white sheet
Yeah,
to
yeah,
sit
yeah.
down on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have a statue of an angel, which I still have the statue of an angel, which I put on, I believe, well, I should probably, this is all written down too. It doesn't matter. I have a statue of an angel, I have the Mother Mary, and I have some colored candlesticks. So
Okay.
we sit down, I put the angel down, I put Mother Mary, I put angel on the east coast, Mother Mary on the west because she was to help. The woman, uh, Kate, was sitting south to me. I was facing, so she was
Mm-hmm.
facing north and I was facing south. Um,
Okay.
and then the candlestick in the middle. And I said, okay, white candle. Put the white candle down. Go to light the candle. The candle would not light. Could not get that damn candle to light. So I figured that we'd have the candle. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on, why this candle won't light, but is it okay if we move the candle to where Mother Mary is and put Mary in the middle? And she was Catholic, so having Mother Mary, looking at Mother Mary, she goes, yeah, I can do that. Positive energies. So this is an intricate thing. We got, the
Yeah,
candles,
yeah.
which the other colored candles, I just kind of put aside. I don't know what to do with them. So then I told her, okay, we both closed our eyes and imagined positive light from heaven coming down, filling her.
Did the light finally did the candle finally light when you moved
No,
it
the
from where Mary
candle
is?
candlestick
And
went to the west coast, to my right hand side, sitting
okay.
there with Mother Mary in the center. The candle was supposed to be in the
Okay.
center for her to focus on. I just put since it won't light, I put the candlestick on the side and put her, Mother
Hmm.
Mary, so the girl could focus on Mother Mary.
Hmm.
And imagining
Okay.
pure white light coming into the center of our meditation mat,
Okay.
filling her completely and filling. And then, of course, I was imagining it because I had my eyes closed at this point because I wanted to feel as much energy as possible. Feeling energy come down to us, and from east, south, west, north, energy feeling big ball of pure source energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we fill the room with it, and then we go down, down, and then of course a beam. I had a beam of light coming through her, and I go down, down, down to the basement, down, down, down to center to Mother Earth, grounding of Mother
Okay.
Earth,
Good. Good. Yeah.
and from there I had her push out her energy, and her and I pushed the energy out, and basically from we would center the house out into the house. At which point, I heard the sound of like one of those big cookie sheets being dropped. Bing, smash. And later
Mm.
she said it sounded like a pipe being dropped. Bing, bing. And I said to her, there was no sound. Just relax. And for her, just clicking. Okay, keep your eyes closed. Continue the energy out to your house. Out. And when it got to basically the walls of her house,
Yeah.
we heard like a firecracker bang outside. And of course, I said, "There's no sound. Extend out to your whole yard. Are you seeing it?" She goes, "Yes, I can see the light filling out to my whole yard. I'm imagining looking at my yard. Out. Now let's fill your whole neighborhood."
Yeah.
At which point, there's this. It sounded like further off, like a bang further off. At this point,
Mm-hmm.
she said, "There is no sound." And so we filled her whole neighborhood. We could hear dogs barking, howling, and everything.
Yeah.
At which point we filled more and more energy. So we kept filling more and more positive energy, more Mother Earth energy, grounding energy, filling her house, pushing out. Um, and then when I felt comfortable, yes, we ended the session. Okay, we open our eyes. Mother Mary's there. The candles now are moved to the center in like a weird, like almost square pattern, and the white candle is lit. Why? I don't know. You're just going to go forward to this. We talked about it. Why? We have no. She said maybe you heated it up enough. It was smoldering about the time we meditating. Maybe we gave energy and the candle lit.
Do you think maybe one of you moved the stuff, but you were in a meditative state, so it didn't like
I honestly moving
your
the stuff.
daily
I don't know.
conscious didn't notice?
Yeah, moving the candlesticks was not my worry. It was the lit candle. How that lit candle on my right hand side or the western side became lit was weird.
Well, could
So
you have lit it like halfway through that meditation, but
absolutely, we
not
don't know
have
what happened.
noticed?
Honestly, don't
Okay.
know what happened. It doesn't matter. It was lit. We just left it that. But we considered it a sign. So we took the lit candle,
Yeah.
her and I, and we walked around her house saying, "Negativity, you're not welcome. Positivity, you're allowed to fill the house." We kept walking around the house from east, south. We kept walking around the house. At each floor, we just did a circle around the floor, down to
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
basement,
Yeah.
and back up again. The
Yeah.
problem was we got to the first floor. Her front door, which was locked, was open,
Oh, hell no.
wide open.
No.
And here's the
No.
weirdest part: we just let it stay open because fine. We just finished clearing out,
Yeah.
finished clearing the energy, and I said, okay, we're gonna push all positive energy towards your front door. We got to the
Mm-hmm.
front door, went to close it, at which point the deadbolt was still engaged, but it wasn't broken. The door wasn't broken. The deadbolt somehow, some way, this is the weirdest part of all, which is probably one of the weirder parts of the story, is the deadbolt somehow disengaged, opened the door, and then re-engaged, or whatever. It
So
was one of those
the door jamb was not tore up or
broken.
anything. It just
There's nothing, and to this day, and it was old house. It was a heavy door jamb. So it was all things where the deadbolt, it wasn't a key deadbolt on the inside. It was a twist thing. So we closed it, twisted it closed, and pull, and yeah. So we cleared out the house. Later, we called some friends over because my friend, who's a big guy, kind of muscular guy, me, the wig man, we called them over and we asked him, pull the door. He said, what if I break it? I'm like, well, just, she said, I don't care. I'm doing really,
right.
just try to get this door open, with a deadbolt. Because she said, I just in case we didn't tell the whole story, what was going on with clearing the energy. She just said, in case someone tries to break it, I want to make sure this door is solid. So
Yeah.
he came on the outside. He cut push with the door unlocked, but the deadbolt still engaged. So we don't know how that door did that. But she never wanted to hang around with me after that either.
Nor tell her girlfriends
Oh
about you, Lucky.
no, I actually here's this story goes further because a friend of mine who I was trying to be the wingman for, I used to read cards. These cards.
Yeah.
These are my cartoons, regular cartoons. She used to read these cards. I don't do it anymore, so they became artwork for me.
Yeah.
And the cards were telling me that she was I basically told problems she had with her male figures, her uncle, her father. It's her story. And I said the relationship she had is not healthy because he has some of the negative aspects of her father. My very close, one of my best friends, I had to explain to her that she's dating the wrong person with my best friend who is totally clueless to the whole thing. My other very best friend afterwards, and I'm like, did the reading, I forgot this whole thing. And she figured it out. And she said, I understand. And I had to walk out, and my other friend walked out too, and he goes, I know you're trying to say, JJ doesn't understand anything, but everything you said is right. I'm like, okay. And that's when, because that relationship fell apart, we lost contact with some of our friends, because we're friends. Problem
A
with
young
dating,
20s friend. Yeah,
oh, yeah,
that fair weather
20s.
friends. Yeah. I mean, they're not really friends. They're people that you party with, and hang out
So,
with.
it was Sunday
Yeah.
night bar room where it was a
Right.
bar where it was low turnout on Sundays. So friends and I used to go and visit there, and the owner loved us because he always knew that, call us the Love
Mm-hmm.
Club. The Love Club would always come in on Sundays, and we got away with a lot.
Yeah.
We were
Yeah.
there probably past closing on Sundays, which
Yeah.
we worked on Mondays. There were times when I
Th-
come over, hang over to work on Mondays, but
I would have been your bartender on Sunday night. Everybody came in Sunday night to see me for my signature Cosmopolitans and Bloody Marys and Long Islands. I made some. I made some really damn good Long
yeah.
Islands, Bloody Marys, and Cosmopolitans and Cosmos, and that's Sunday night. I would have been bartending, and then I would have drank with you after hours.
Yeah, Kate
That's what I would have
Kate
been doing.
was in
I don't think the kids do that this nowadays.
oh no, I did everything's
I don't think
online
they
now,
do.
so
Yeah,
they'd rather hang out online and play games and stuff. But
yeah. I don't think they have the same experiences with that. I maybe that's a good thing. Because we did have to work on Monday, didn't we, Lucky? you know.
yes, I did have to work, and one of my problems was supposedly I was told that you drink, it cuts off your abilities, your psychic abilities. Unfortunately for me,
Ugh.
the buzz got me stronger. I was not able to control it or turn it down or turn it up. It
Mm-hmm.
was basically just goes ju 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 ju. And of course, once you get drunk, just nothing.
Dude.
So yeah.
That's, yeah. No, I totally agree. Maybe people don't know that. So, like, I had a serious drinking problem, as many people know, um, from my channel listening to me, Stars of Morning Light. Um, it was really because I thought it was going to, like, get rid of my abilities. But then, oh my goodness, no. It, like, amplifies the stuff. And that's why I completely was like, I'm not a medium at all anymore. If
Hmm.
anything comes my way, I'm telling you to get lost. I could care less what happens to you. Because I'd be at school, like in college, I'd be at work, I'd be partying, 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 partying. I was pretty much drunk all the time. Um,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden, here's a ghost, here's a spirit, here's a spirit, here's a spirit, because they're attracted to you, because you can help them. I can't even
Oh
help
yeah.
myself. Leave me
Oh God.
alone,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And I thought I was like washing it all away. When in reality, no, I was actually amplifying the situation and then losing my ability to control my abilities. That made it worse. And then I just kind of became an asshole. But that was eventually why I at least shut down the mediumship aspect to my abilities. I do not, if a ghost needs something, a disembodied being, I'll send you to Lucky because I just don't want to deal with it anymore. If you're trying to sleep, if you're trying to anything, no, I don't deal with it. But that was why. Because with all my drinking, it was insanity. It was a nonstop. They thought my house was, the place to be. No, I don't think so. Oh, John Price. Oh, love it. A bottle of Jack Daniels in a mirror. Love it. Exactly, dude. Spirits increase spirits. Yep, there
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
go. These are
Yeah.
great.
There was a time where another friend of mine, we were talking about meditation and everything, and he wanted to give up drinking for a month, and uh, he was meditating a lot before, so he would meditate during the Sunday and then come in to the bar to hang out with his friends, not drinking.
Mm,
But unfortunately, for something about he was a little not drinking. He was drinking soda.
yeah.
He ended up walking into a pole, and just who knows what the energies or
Yes.
whatever it was.
Not paying
And the
attention.
bartender
Yeah.
told the waitress, "Shut him off. He's drunk." At which
Cut
point
them
she
off.
said,
Yeah.
"He's drinking diet sodas. We're we're paying for him to drink. He hasn't had alcohol."
Oh
She
my
goes, "I got."
gosh.
So the bartender comes out from back, starts talking to him, realizing he's not drunk. And she asked him what's going on. He said to rather than saying, "I've been meditating all day," he says, I had a long day at work, and I know I'm just kind of tired. So and I just want to relax with some friends. That's why I'm drinking caffeinated soda rather than telling funny stories about what happens when sometimes the energies do weird things to you.
When you meditate all day and then
Nice
go
guy, nice
out
guy,
and,
but
yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So, like, one of my stories is, so you brought up how there was a dog with the little boy. And one of
yeah,
my stories is about a ghost train. So, apparently, I did not know until I married my husband that there was even an urban legend in the Chicagoland area of a ghost train.
mm,
So it's like, okay, is this like just repeated energy, the cycle of energy, or is this literally a train? I have to say, so I think I was probably about 24 or so. So during the time that I'm drinking, no, I had been 22. And which a lot of this is blackout, but I do remember it because I wasn't really drinking that night. I hadn't like started yet. My friend that was living in Tennessee, Mandy. Okay, so little backstory. My first boyfriend in high school had a little sister named Mandy. I got rid of him and kept her. She was cool. She was a great little one.
mhm.
Her family then moved to Tennessee, and that's who I actually would visit in college to come down to the Chattanooga area and then go back home. Like, so she came to visit in Illinois one night, and we were driving to go pick up one of her friends out in what would be more the country type of area of Illinois, or northern Illinois, I should say. So there's Chicagoland, and then there's like
Hmm.
pockets to the west of that that are a little bit farm ish, and also the Channel Lakes. So there's not just Lake Michigan, there's like lakes that are all together, and it's a good time to go out on them. So we were picking her up somewhere out there, and I pull on to some side road. I don't know where I am. I'm out in the country. I was a city girl, by the way. So I don't know where I am. I'm out in the country. I pull onto a side road thinking I'm going the right way. All of a sudden, that side road turns into a gravel road. Turns into basically like damn near no road. And I'm driving. It's nighttime. Mandy's in the passenger seat. And I'm like, is that train tracks? As I'm like driving over these train tracks. No sign, no nothing. And I was like, holy shit, is that train? Did I just drive over train tracks? And the moment I said that, like, so my car is past the train tracks, and I'm like, did I just, because you're feeling it. I didn't see it, I felt it. And with that, come roaring behind my car
Oof.
was a train.
Wow.
And both Mandy and I, she experienced this as well. Both Mandy and I just sat there because I was more scared of, oh my God, I could have just killed us. How did I not see a train coming? I would have seen the lights. I would have heard. Why is there not a sign here? What is happening? So we're just kind of frozen in place. I'm having all these whirling thoughts of like, oh my God, are we alive? I turned to Mandy and I said, did you just see that? And she's like, yeah, what the hell? So we just sat there for a minute, again in silence, taking it in. It was, it was not just like a choo 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 choo. I mean, speeding, roaring past us, the sound of the engine, the speed, all of it, the smoke, all of it.
Mm.
But what was interesting is like, once it started, you're like, okay, so you're expecting a whole huge train. No, it's as if it roared past and then was just gone. And we sat there, and I turned to her and I was like, Mandy, and I started apologizing because I was like, there was no sign. I don't even know if that was a train, but you saw it. I saw it. I'm sorry. I'm glad we're alive. And then Mandy gets all weird about it because I'm sure that's what her mind was doing. She was like, what if we're not, Courtney? What if we did just get hit by a train and now we're
Mm.
living in some parallel universe type thing? So now her mind's got my mind going. And then and then I had to do a Yui. I had to
Hmm.
kind of do this really messed up thing within like tall grass and corn to get out of there, to turn around to go over those train tracks again. And then we're talking about it. And I was like, Mandy, I don't know. I don't think that was an actual train. There would have been more carts. There would have been like, we would have come to our senses and still seen a train rolling by. And so Mandy brought up this idea of maybe it was a ghost. Maybe it was a ghost train. And to tell you the truth, I gotta give Mandy credit because I I knew of residual energy. I knew of cycles of energy. I knew of all that kind of stuff, how energy can do that. But this was so very different. It was so very different, as in, it felt like this train just rode any tracks that had ever been in Illinois. Like, it wasn't this repeating thing. Because we were kind of there for a minute in
Hmm.
that area. Because once I drove over the train tracks again, I still didn't know where the hell I was. I had to figure out where I was. Oh, and by the way, folks, I don't think I had a cell phone. I no, I had a cell phone, but you know, whatever. I still
Hmm.
didn't know where I was, right? It wasn't until I'm dating Brad, so many, many years later, that he starts telling me, because he's out by that country area, like the west suburbs of Chicago, right? The more west, and especially northwest you go of Chicagoland, it's more country. And he's out from that area. I'm not. We lived about an hour away from each other. He started telling me that in that area, there is an urban legend of a ghost train.
Hmm.
And it is seen all over the place. Like if you looked it up right now and probably Googled it or YouTubed it, I'm sure there's stories of the Chicagoland ghost train that it's it just goes everywhere. Like if there's a set of tracks, it's gonna find it and it's gonna ride it.
Hmm.
So it's not just one, you know, one line. It's not just a single line either.
Hmm.
I mean, it's hitting all of it.
Wow.
So that I don't honestly, I don't really understand that because it's not like he lived in Lake Zurich. I lived in Waukegan. You never saw that stuff in Waukegan, by the way, but it's a city. But
Hmm.
if you went to Cary, Lake Zurich, you know, like all these places in the West, even down to even kind of the West South, like Cicero, Rockford. I'm naming all these Illinois places that I know you don't know, Lucky, but some of Illinois people might. It just goes all over, all over. On live tracks and dead tracks. I don't even know what that is, bro. I do know what was it in 1918, the big train accident that killed a bunch of people and killed all those circus folk,
Hmm.
like 56 people from the circus died, and there's the big in I think it's in Park Forest or Forest Park, Illinois, um, Showman's Cemetery, or Showman's Rest. I apologize. Um, I don't know if it's attached to that big train accident. I don't know. But what I'm going to tell you is Mandy and I still to this day are like, what if we did die? Like what if that was an actual train and we just immediately restarted, or that totally shifted our timeline. Mandy was all about the timelines shifting. I don't know what that was, dude. It was a train. It's a ghost train that moves. That just goes around. Isn't that wild?
I mean, if it's going to the old tracks that used to be there for years, who knows? Because
You're
you know.
right. But I guess I mean it could be new tracks, like live tracks that are being used, old tracks.
Hmm.
All I can think of is that I mean trains, locomotives, steam trains, as you would know, Lucky.
Hmm.
That is some powerful force.
Oh yeah.
I mean powerful. That maybe if there was an accident, it would be not just like a repetition of the accident, but maybe because of the force of energy, it has the ability to then jump rails and
Hmm.
go wherever it wants because of the magnitude of the
Oh,
original energy of a locomotive train. That's the only thing I can think of.
that makes sense because they're very powerful, and
Yeah.
if they're not bound by the tracks that exist, they can go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, because it held such high energy in its original state.
Oh, and
Yeah.
they're all iron, and everything in iron holds
Right, dude.
magnetism and energy. So,
Right.
oh boy, so it just might be just residual from the iron train just going wherever they plan to.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. Right. Like it could just be doing its route that we don't know about because it happened 100 years ago.
Yep. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because I don't. I'm just saying, y'all look it up. Look up the Chicago Ghost Train because it will attach the word Chicago, even though it's the west suburbs. I'm sure you will find urban legends about it. I did experience it. And so out of ghosts, Lucky, yeah, ghosts, easy peasy, like you said, easy peasy, nothing to it. Um, the ghost train was scary. The ghost train was really scary. Yeah. I think even more so because there was another human with me that I did have that moment of I could have killed this person because I didn't know what was going on.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense. That is definitely
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah. Yeah. Your thing with the door, dude, so you said, I don't know if that was a demon. Are you sure there was nobody in that house that she just bought? Like there was not a squatter
Oh no, there was
of
no
some
one
kind?
because of all the renovations and everything that was done in that house. There was nowhere for that person to hide. Let alone, I, who knows?
Well, then
Uh,
I had to say it would have had to probably have been some kind of demon level. Even a poltergeist would have to get to demon type of energy to open a door like that. And so you probably also had some good stuff working on your side that
well,
lit that candle for you
and
and moved things around for you. You know what I
I did,
mean? That
I
got
did
it
also
out.
forget that in she was carrying the candle and she was yelling, "You are not welcome here. You negative energy, negative entity. You are not welcome here. Positive, loving peace are welcome. Negative energy, you are not welcome." She was yelling it the whole time. So,
Yeah.
but that was from the top for third floor, second floor. We got to the first floor, and that's when we noticed the door open, left it, and then did the basement and came back up again. But yeah, the door hadn't changed position when we saw it the first time. But again, we just continued out because if we, she's like, she showed close the door. I'm like, no, just in case we got to get the let the energy
Yeah.
out of the house. Because honestly, when you
Yep.
do this cleaning the house, you're supposed to leave a door open for them to leave with a
Yep.
window or something like that. But I
Right.
I had actually forgotten about that until
Yep.
but she was yelling the whole time. I'm surprised the neighbors didn't. Of course, no, the neighborhood dogs were still barking and howling too, which it was a weird experience with having the dogs howl in the neighborhood. Which I didn't know there were that many dogs in her neighborhood till then.
That could have been I
I
with the
forgot about that.
dogs howling who are sensitive anyways, but I think something probably came to help you, Lucky. I
Probably.
really do. I think something came to help you to do the work for you. I mean, y'all were doing a great job, but sometimes helpful beings will come and do that extra little push that's needed. Yeah. And so either they open the door or either or. Did you ever find out if her place was cool after that? Like it was fine?
Yeah, it was very cool. It was
Wow.
very cool. You know, uh, you know, I mean,
Cool.
for a while she did date my friend, and it was cool. Everything was good, and then eventually, I mean, it was probably like maybe 3 months later that it fell out with her, with my friend and her, and so
Yeah.
we lost contact. But things were calm, and I always said to her that no matter what happens in the future, honestly, I still have the same cell phone number, so technically, she could, because I've had the same cell phone number for 30 years.
Oh
I got
my
my cell phone
gosh.
in early, so I'm the one person who literally I have a cell phone, still have the same cell phone number for 30 years. My wife changes hers every couple of years because just what she does.
Because that's what
But
she
yeah,
does.
so yeah,
Oh my
so
goodness.
I mean, it's one of those things.
Yeah, she can contact you if she needs you. She
She,
might be watching. Maybe she'll watch this. Maybe she stumbled upon Lucky Stone 888 one day and she's like, hey, I know that guy 20 years later. And then she's going to go back and she's going to watch this. And thank you all who are watching and having a good time in the chat. Please leave a like for Lucky and go over to Stars of the Morning Light and subscribe to me, please, if you haven't already. Thank you. Um, Maybe she'll like watch this and then hear the story That would be cool. That would be cool. You can
It'd be
find her on
interesting.
Facebook, send it to her, and be like, I was talking about you.
You never know. You never know. Kate was such a nice girl too.
Yeah, I don't. You don't mess with people the way I mess with people. I would do something like that. Like, yeah, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell the whole world this crazy, ghost train incident, and then I'm gonna send you this video and be like, I was talking about you, by the way. Oh, everybody, it's Friday night. Have fun. Lucky, you started with massive anticipation about your third story.
Yes.
I don't know if we're
Yes.
ending on your third story. I have a third story too. We might just see how this goes, but I
We got
definitely
plenty of time.
need.
Yeah.
Oh,
Honestly,
we got plenty of time.
we got
We
we
got
got nothing. We got nowhere
we
to
got
be.
plenty
We
of
got no
time.
one. No, we're not going to be blocking anyone. We have, this
That's
story's a little
right.
long, but yeah. So we'll tell my story. We'll tell your story. Then we'll clean it up. I mean, yeah, this
We're just
story.
we're just hanging loose.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
hanging
yeah.
out and hanging loose, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
right.
Halloween. So you have built the anticipation in me, Lucky. I was able to tell all of my stories while still thinking about what's Lucky gonna say. So give it to us, Lucky. You're gonna do a great job.
Okay, so this was in 1984. The 1984 horror story, which is why I labeled it as 1984 horror story.
I was
Like
3
I
years
said,
old, Lucky.
and I'm telling this story as I was 15, but telling the story from an uninvolved observer narrator. There was a farm built on 10 acres, and on the front of that land was a cemetery. The house was set back 500 feet from the cemetery with a nice long driveway. Behind the house was an ancient river. Rumors said, well, I went well with this. Rumors said that this river was used to help slaves escape from the south, and they could move down the river and hide until they could be moved up and transported safely north to Canada. I forgot what I wrote, honestly.
No, keep going. We love it. We're taking it in. You're doing a great job. If I
Okay.
was your creative writing teacher right now, I'd be very impressed. So keep going, Lucky.
The family had a mother, a son, a daughter, and a stepfather. The stepfather was a successful contractor, carpenter, and had many high-end clients who would routinely perform repairs and expansions to mansions and summer
Ooh.
cottages. Unfortunately for the stepfather, he was an ex-convict and a recovering drug addict.
Mm-hmm.
But people change, and he was successful, and he had some very high-end clients. One strange late summertime, the family would hear strange voices. Everyone would hear these voices except for the son. The son, who lived in a unheated basement, but in the summertime was fine. But he never heard these voices. The family believed that the son was maybe a heavy sleeper, but in all was truth, the son was an avid reader and would stay up to the wee hours in the morning reading, but would still never hear the voices around the house. It was outside the
Mm.
house.
Mm.
In a form of sheer nervousness, upsetness, I don't have this written down. The stepfather and the mother buried extension cords from the house out towards the barn and into the woods. And onto those extension cords, they would attach intercoms. The stepfather had set up 4 receivers in the master bedroom for these intercoms. And one night, they would hear a group of people chanting from the cemetery. And as they moved closer to each of the intercoms, they would hear them getting louder and louder and softer as they approached to each intercom, and the stepfather would change to the next intercom. They never saw the people, but they could hear them. And the sound got really close to the house, but the
Mm.
boy never heard the sounds. The daughter, the mother, and the stepfather heard the chanting, but not the boy,
Mm.
who had a cracked window. Since the boy seemed to be missing everything and immune to these chanting beings, it was decided that he was to sleep outside with a CB radio attached to a full new car battery. The
What?
car battery should keep the CB radio running for days. The next night, the
Sorry,
chanting
Lucky.
cult.
Just
Yeah,
whoa, man.
yeah. There's a lot to unpack with this. I am serious.
Jesus Christ.
This is why I have to be very narrator of this, because this is my story and really
I
messed
love
up.
you, darling. I love you. I don't know if I should cry or laugh right now. Like, oh my goodness. Okay, keep going. So the 15-year-old boy, because he couldn't hear them, it was decided that he sleeps outside with a car battery and
A CB
a
radio
mic or a CB radio, right?
and a
Okay.
tent. In a tent. A very small tent.
Very small tent. Okay. Good thing it was summertime.
And the battery was a strong battery.
Yeah.
The next night,
Yeah.
the cult came back. The family, the mother, the daughter, and the stepfather saw the shrouded cult members and heard them chanting through the intercom as they moved from the cemetery by the tent. As they walked by the tent, the family called out on the CB radio to the boy, but the boy never answered.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
The,
Go ahead. Sorry.
the family saw there was a light in the tent, but the boy still never answered the CB radio calls. Even as the mother and the sister were frantically calling the CB radio, there was no answer. The shrouded cult members made their way by the tent and round the house. The next morning now, the family went to the boy in the tent, and it was discovered that the battery was drained completely.
Oh, shit. Oh, my God.
But the boy's flashlight still worked. The the car battery was charged that morning, and in the afternoon, they let the battery run for 8 hours and used it on the truck. We had a big family farm truck.
Yeah.
Very hard to start farm truck. The battery started this farm truck, no problem. So there was no problem with the battery. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
The boy, at this point, was instructed to sleep all day because he was going to be sleeping in the horse trailer that night.
In the horse trailer. So now you went from a tent to a horse trailer.
Since this boy could not see these shrouded figures, there's got to be something that this boy, for some reason, this is a messed up story. I know.
This is
He was
brilliant. I mean, not brilliant as in I apologize. There's a lot going on. Yes, to unpack. But this is fascinating, like you said. Like, I am on the edge of my seat. So,
the
and I
yes
am kind of separating myself from the fact that this was a little 15-year-old Lucky. I'm just going with the flow, man, because you're good and live and well today. So,
so the boy slept all day to sleep in the horse trailer, which was now parked right next to the cemetery. The boy was given a 35 millimeter camera with with new film. That's what I'm trying to say, new
Right.
film.
Yeah.
So he could photograph the cult to prove to everyone that they exist. And since the boy loved the cemetery, he might as well stay up all night and live in the horse trailer. The horse trailer had in the front had a bed for sleeping because it was made for going to horse shows and stuff. So it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
that bad. Horse trailer. We're not sleeping in the horse trailer. We're sleeping in the front end, which was a camper, a very small
Yeah.
camper, but it was better than a tent, right?
Yeah, better than the tent. Yes.
So this night, remember, this was every night these cult members were walking by. The next night, the cult members did not come,
Ooh.
but the young boy heard a knock on the trailer door. The person outside the trailer door asked the boy not to open the door. The boy recognized the voice, but could not remember where this voice came from. The voice said, "There is no cult. I sent them. Your grandmother is very worried, and she sent me." Her passing was only a few short months ago. My grandma had passed away before the cult member situation had happened. She could not come, but she's always watching over you. Tell your mother, your sister, and your stepmother the answer to your problem is in the hay bales above the tack room.
Oh my God. Okay.
The next morning, the boy left the trailer, and at the house were police stations and family members because they had been hearing about this situation for the past few days and they decided to investigate. They were all very concerned about the strange stories and more concerned. The boy happened to walk from outside in because they had no idea the boy was living outside. At this point, the boy walked into the kitchen and passed on the message that the answer to your problem is in the hay bales above the tack room. The stepfather started to yell and raised his hand towards the boy. The stepfather only got 2 steps towards the boy before he turned white, screamed, and ran out of the house in terror.
Mm.
The police, with the help of the family, moved ladder up to above the tack room and found the hay bale. It turns out this hay bale was hollow, and inside it was cash and medicine. It wasn't medicine.
It wasn't medicine. Better than dead bodies. I mean, man, I was waiting for dead bodies in in the hay barrel.
Later, the police went to find the stepfather, of course,
Yeah.
and honestly, they took everything.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
cash belonged to my mother. He was siphoning out cash from my mother's account.
Oh, damn.
He was also stealing jewelry from the places that he was fixing up. So that was returned. So the stolen property was returned to the people, and my mother kept the money, and then the medicine was given to the police for them to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
There was a secretary for the police who was a family friend, and she was in the police. The stepfather told the police, "Avoid that boy. That boy is protected by beings from hell." And the stepfather said, "I was told that if I continue to mess with this boy, all the spirits from hell will start tormenting him until he is forced to join us. Repent, and you will never have to see us again." Just the stepfather had heard this story. The stepfather, so the police believed that the stepfather had been using the medicines that he had hidden
Yes.
and let it go. They let everything go uh, because back then, you find drugs on someone's property, you can lose your property. But
Yeah.
because the police really didn't get a search warrant for this, they just took the medicine and
Mm-hmm.
honestly wash our hands. And they were also, the policeman was also a family friend, long story short. Later, this short time later, at Sunday school, the mother superior from the Sunday school asked to have the boy visit her in the school office. Now, this mother superior was feared by all of the students. To be sent to this mother superior's office, she had a saying up on her wall with only the worst students. Well, I'm sorry, only the worst student could visit her. The mother superior said, "One bad apple will ruin the bunch, and bad apples can either become cider or pie. I will not allow the bad apples to ruin the good children." This was her saying. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to go up, see the mother superior. All
Mm-hmm.
of the children are terrified, and this poor, sweet
Mm-hmm.
boy is sent to Mother Superior. The boy walked into Mother Superior's office, and she laughed and laughed. She said to the boy, "Angels will appear as demons to punish those who try to harm God's lambs.
Mm-hmm.
You, my boy, are one of God's lambs. You have a true heart, and don't let anyone change that.
Oh.
You are one of the only
Oh.
peaceful ones, and always keep that peaceful part of you going.
Yeah. Apart.
As
Yeah.
long
Always
as you're
keep it
kind, you
going.
will always be fine. And your stepfather should never avoid you.
Mm.
I mean, sorry, your stepfather should never bother you again."
Mm-hmm.
And shortly after, the stepfather filed for divorce and continued to move constantly through the rest of his life until his death. He
Yeah.
died like
Grifted.
7, 10 years later and never stayed the same place for more than a few months.
Yeah.
Whenever he was seen close to town, he was always asked to leave by the police. And his own family, who lived in the town, uh, asked him never visit them for reasons.
Lucky, this has been a very exciting story. I have a question.
I'm done. Yes, like I said, I had to write this all down because this, honestly, even
Yeah.
reading it brought some feelings up that
Oh, of
I thought I
course.
got rid of.
And to even remember the sequence of how it all went. It's, good to write it down.
Yeah, yeah,
So, when the boy was laying in the horse trailer
yes,
and there was a knock on the door that
yes,
said, "Hey, your grandma has sent us. This is a
yes,
good thing. We need you to check, in the hay." The boy recognized the voice.
yes.
Who was the voice?
That was the original boy from the beginning, the first story,
I knew
Charlie.
it. I knew it. I knew it. I
But
knew it. It was a twist. I knew it.
and because at that point I was still not connected to um, that, I was cut off from some of the psychic
Yeah.
stuff. I was still not, so seeing Charlie would have been impossible. It would just been a disembodied voice, but hearing the voice probably would have been
See,
easier.
and like you said tonight in the program already, in this episode, that like negative, demonic things, they pretty much stay away from you. So when you were telling this story, I was like, well, if he can't hear it, it might be bad things. Like maybe they're trying to stay away from Lucky, even though Lucky's the one that is then sent out there. But the nun, Lady Superior, Mother Superior, I mean, they have the name Superior in the name for a reason. I kind of like what she said, that, angels will appear as demons to those that, need to be scared, sent away. removed, to protect others. Hmm.
I
There's a
mean,
lot of stories that are in relation to that as well, Lucky.
well, I mean, the story is I never really got along with my grandfather. I mean, my stepfather. My grandfather got along great with. My stepfather, I never really got along with. But my mother and my stepfather liked to buy gifts, um, and I never accepted the gifts. But my sister loved the gifts, and of course, my mother. Unfortunately, the gifts he bought were money that he stole from my mother, but or from the places he worked
Others
because
are dealing, or
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and the idea is that he might have been dealing drugs to the houses, the mansions, the rich people, their kids.
yes,
Who knows?
yeah,
He
exactly,
was making. He was probably the money he was stealing from my mother. She might have even known about it because he might have been using that to buy and then returning it
yes,
and made him back and forth,
yeah.
which is probably he was brilliant. He was brilliant. He was a very intelligent individual, but he was also an ex-con, so he knew how to
Yeah,
do
most
things. And
grifters are. A lot of con are. They are intelligent. Um,
yeah,
Still brilliant, scary story. Because the whole time I didn't know what was outside the house. I didn't know what was making the sounds, the chanting, the sounds.
and that was the big problem is that they had recordings of them. They had recordings. They had a tape recorder, cheap tape recorder that they would tape and play the tape recorder next to it, and they would evidence for the police. And the police are like, well, I don't know what the hell this is. It's weird. And they still never. I mean, of course, after stepfather was gone, no shrouded. I still never saw them, so I really don't know I had to go with what other people said. I never heard them. I had to go with what other people said, but um,
When you
it
were a
was
kid, like younger than 15, Lucky,
yeah.
did you believe that there were, like, I guess you would say, like, bad cults out there? Because I had to, like, actually visibly see something that was terrifying in its own right. And nobody was there at that moment for me to actually acknowledge, like, wow, that stuff on TV or whatever that is. Yeah, there's people that do that. Did you believe that that was possible?
I cults. I never believed in the negativity. I always thought that I honestly thought the family was crazy. I mean,
Well, yeah.
yeah,
So
because remember I was reading a book next to a window, and they all heard these chants, these cults, the chanting outside, and they said it was loud enough. And my sister was in the middle of the house, terrified, and she could hear it. My mother, of course, my bedroom, my mother's bedroom were because my house was the family bedroom was built into a hill, so
yeah,
at the back of the house was open, second story, but the front of the house was the first floor. It was a weird house, but yeah,
yeah,
so I should have been able to hear better than my mother and my stepfather. Of course, they couldn't see it, but they could hear it, and they recorded it on they were recording on the intercom. But again, I mean, I'm on the tape recorder from the intercom, but I never heard it. And then that later, I heard it, and I thought it was honestly, to be honest, I believe back then, I believed that it was probably people my stepfather hired to scare my mother for
yeah.
some,
That's what I would have
because
thought that too. Yep, I would have thought that too. Yeah,
so and to me, I knew these woods better than anybody because honestly, it was a cemetery, big woods, open woods, and then open field for horses. So
right.
so I mean, so if there were people, I could have left the trailer and still avoided the people right away, but I
Yeah.
never saw them. They never existed to me. So I thought this is the weirdest thing ever. And kind of, I always like a mystery, try to figure out what the mystery is. I never figured out, so
Wow. Wow. That is, I you should look at that would be a good short story. You should think about writing that. So like what I meant too by that question is that growing up, like, you watch all the scary movies, you watch the stuff in the news, especially in the 80s and 90s, like, oh, they killed this person because they're satanic cult. Like there was so much talk around that, right? I I didn't buy into it. Like I'm thinking, no, that's no, not at all. Like who's going to buy into a satanic cult in the first place? Like what loser is going to think that's a thing to even participate or join one or make one? Until Lucky, there was an empty old silo by my grandma's house. So my grandma, there was a lot of field around her, and there was this old empty silo that as kids we knew it was there, and it was kind of further away from her, but still we would sometimes go there. So like all through the 80s, it's fine. All of a sudden walk I don't know, I must have been a teenager, and the cousins and I are just walking around, we're just walking around, and we decide to walk up to it, and I kid you not, in this empty silo, I mean, satanic writings and paintings all over the place, a sacrifice cat in the center of it. I
Oh
mean,
boy.
dude, it was a thing. And I walked in, and you could
Hmm.
feel, oh, this is real. Like I once again, I'm now scared. There's literally nothing around. There's no one around. I see all this. You could feel the evil. And then even more years later, like when I was closer to my 20s, I was like, I wonder if that's still there. And I went there, and then it was covered in gang symbols. That's what took it over. But it wasn't until I saw that I went, holy shit. All that cult stuff, all that satanic stuff, all the worshiping evil, people actually choose to do that. Like
Hmm.
until I saw that sacrifice cat, the burnt out candles, all the stuff on the walls, felt the energy in there. That is when I went, humans are choose to do that. Holy my God. So then I'm thinking, so all that stuff they say on the news, well, shit, that might be real.
Hmm.
I didn't even think, why would somebody choose that? Like so I will say I was kind of naive in that way of, no, of course people wouldn't choose that. No, they do. It's out there. That's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, back then it was sort of around the time I believe, maybe 6 months. I was reading about the Salem witch trials, which was a big thing, um,
Mm-hmm.
to teach about you know crazy things people
Yeah.
do, and that's when I realized, which wasn't a popular opinion, was the only real witch was Tituba, who was the slave, and she lived. And
Yeah.
the teacher's like, "That's not the point of the story." I'm like, "But all the other people, they were not witches. They just wanted their land, right? And they were executed for their land. But the real witch, the only real witch, was the one who survived." And she said, "That's
Yeah.
pretty
Go
amazing." And
figure. Yeah.
so that's what, that's when I never really believed in the demons and stuff like that, because the whole basis of everything, the witch trials, was just about people stealing from each other and crazy
Stealing and
girls.
lying and girls. That is a demonstration how vicious teenage girls can be, y'all. I mean, that was, in a lot of ways, Lucky, that was, I'm a bored teenage girl and I'm not getting what I want. Oh, I'm going to look at me, look at me, look at me. And then it just kind of kept blowing up and blowing up and blowing
Yep.
up.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I was a teenage girl. I, I know what we're capable of. Like, crazy. Yeah. But then it makes us think about, too, um, are the people that quote unquote choose to, I don't know, be a part of some kind of evil cult. I don't even want to call it satanic. It's just evil. Um, I wonder if they're not really in choice because they are taken over by a demon. I don't know.
Mhm.
I there's got to be multiple things, and it's got to be a ton of brainwashing. I'm just saying the shit is real out there amongst all this other stuff that we've been talking about. And I'm sure what people are talking about in the chat as I'm looking over, I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff that they've experienced, everybody in the chat, and how all things are real, things are possible, things happen. Scotty, Scotty boy, he would know. Yes, girls in general are brutal. Yes. Oh my god, I gotta say, Lucky, there's aspects to being a man that we can all watch and witness, that kind of like alpha male thing, like you duke it out, and then shit, you usually, whoever wins ends up buying the other one a beer or whatever. You're cordial then, like you're good.
Yep.
The alpha just has to be established. That's not for women. Even if the female alpha establishes herself, they will all come and continue try to attack. Even no matter how many times she wins. No matter how
Yep.
many times she wins, the attacks never stop. Women are brutal. And that goes for pretty much everybody. I love us women. We're also beautiful. We're also nurturing. We're also, great caring beings. But man, if we feel like we need to prove something or win, whew, everybody, watch out.
That's the truth,
I
unfortunately.
do love us. Yeah. And we don't stop. We're relentless. That's the difference. Men choose, they pick their battles way more than women. They pick their battles, they duke it out, and then it's done. Women are relentless. They're just relentless. Like, I know, I am one. I I know what I am. I accept it. I accept it and then I work with it, not against it, to know that I can be crazy too. So, and I hope everybody had fun with in the chat with that one. Yeah, definitely. So, Lucky, I have, I guess, one more story, but I think most people have heard it before, and it's gonna seem unbelievable, kind of fantastical, but it definitely, it's there. Um, so I guess I can share it. I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah, we have time. I mean, it's we're open. I mean,
We're open. We're
John
open for
Max originally
business,
said us,
folks.
yeah, there's nothing to, we're not against anyone, so we're free. And if people want to move on, you can move on in peace and watch later, or just everyone be
Yeah.
happy.
Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, I see Lori with our lovely beer stein. John, I do have a story about clowns, by the way, because I am from Chicago, so there's always stories about clowns, but we're going to set that aside for a different day. And I know Lucky's afraid of clowns, but I actually have a story. I didn't know that they had a name to it until just 4 or 5 years ago, to tell you the truth. I have a story about black eyed kids.
Oh,
Yeah, like legitimately. And I did not know that there was a name. I didn't know. I mean, I had to figure. Okay, so they can approach kids, especially if that kid is alone, looks like they would help, that sort of thing, to get them into the house. The main goal is to get into the house. Because once they get into the house, they're going to run you and run you and run you. This is what I know why they do what they do. I want to start there. And then I'll tell the story. What I've learned about them is they are just, I don't even want to call them creatures, but it's like I don't even, it's like if you took demon and like some kind of like elemental and kind of mixed it in a way, And you remember the old X-Files episodes with the black stuff? Like if you got
Oh
that
yeah.
the black alien stuff and it would get into your eyes.
Hmm.
So they're kind of taken over. That's what I know of them to be, but it's kind of a mix of like demon elemental energy that takes over. But here's the thing, and the reason why they're in ratty tatty clothes and even maybe old fashioned clothes is because they have been going for a long time. Because now that black stuff is what's inside of that meat suit, if that makes sense.
Oh
But what
wow,
the,
that
yeah,
makes
what
sense.
the, yeah, the main thing that they're there for though, it has nothing to do really with them. They are working for a much bigger demon slash elemental. I mean, a massive bad mamma jamma that will, I mean, it will just kill you. What they do then is if they can get into your home, they'll run you. They will, I mean, it's going to be nonstop. I need this. I need that. Can I have more ice cream? Can I have this? I'm cold. I need a blanket. They will not, and you will get into this rhythmic motion of just going and going and going. They kind of put you in this hypnotic state, but it could be a hypnotic state for days and you haven't eaten. You haven't gone outside. You haven't, that by the time their master, their big guy comes, you're ripe for the picking. You have
Hmm.
no fight in you. You have no idea what's going on. And the big thing actually comes in and you're gone. So that's what I know of what they are. And that's why you never let those things into your house. You never let them anywhere near you. Because it's not really them, it's what's going to come in after them, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. So, and I've had to learn this over time what they were because like I said, I didn't have names for that. I didn't have any names for what the world referenced these things as.
Hmm.
So when I was 9 and 10, my parents were like divorced and separated. So everybody knows my parents were legally divorced when I was like 9 years old, but my birth to by the time I was 13, they would get together, not be together, get together, not be together, legally divorced at 9, back together, they played that game. So I was 9 and dad was not living with us. So we moved to another location. We moved like every year. And we moved to a house. I did not like this house, by the way. It was a creepy ass house on the far other side of town. I didn't know that area of town or city, I should say. I'm from a city. I understood why my mom was renting it because it was cheap enough for us to rent in a really good, like what would have been a really good location compared to where we just came from. Let's say that, right? It was a creepy ass house though, man. It was a
Hmm.
creepy house. I don't just it was bad.
Hmm.
So my mom at the time would work like 2 or 3 jobs. My sister is 5 years older than me, so she was like 15. She was working 2 jobs. She also ran track, had a boyfriend. Needless to say, 10-year-old Courtney, 10-year-old Courtney was alone all the time, right? Nick and night, every night. That was my life. So the house next to us was a 2-story house that was brick. And it wasn't rented out for quite a long time. Why, I don't know, right? Weird. So occasionally I would go outside because our driveways were parallel to each other. So my back door or my side door to where we lived, driveway, their driveway, then a big brick wall. So I'd take my sister's like tennis racket and I would just hit the ball across the to the house. The big brick wall. I don't know, because people told me I need to get fresh air. I mean, like literally, that was basically why. Like, I'm not doing
Yep.
anything. I was home. I was alone 24/7, pretty much. Um, One day I'm doing that. I'm doing that, and do note that the door was a big wooden door that would stick and a shitty screen door that would stick onto my house. So I'm in my driveway just doing my thing, hitting the ball onto the house and back again. I'm playing, basically teaching myself tennis. Not in a great way, but I'm teaching myself tennis. And all of a sudden, I'm in my driveway and these two boys walk up. And they are in kind of tattered clothes and look dirty. This is what, and I immediately knew, dude. One was like older, maybe like, a teenage boy, when the other looked more my age or even a bit younger, like 8-year old. They didn't look at me. The older boy looked down at the younger boy the entire time, and the younger boy had his head down the entire time.
Oh.
Okay? And the way they spoke, I mean, anybody would, be like, it would freak you out. So they never looked at me, at least as right now. The older boy is looking at the younger boy, and the younger boy's looking down, and I'm thinking like a scolding kind of look or appearance. But yet then the older boy, his lips move as he says, "Let us come in." That's how he said that. I don't know you. They said, "Let us come in." And I'm standing there. Now, do know I have a tennis racket in my hand, and don't think I'm not thinking about using it. But then I'm also, as he said that, I am gauging how many steps I am to that shitty screen door that sticks and it's so hard to open, and then a big wooden door that I'm going to have to slam into to open it. I'm calculating all of this. He repeated that 3 times. Let us come in. Let us come in. Let us come in. And it's like every time he did that, I took those like 3 big steps and I turned and I held, as I'm getting the screen door open with my right, I put up the racket like this, and I put my body in between the screen door, the racket's up like this, and I go to like really put all my weight into opening the door, and with that, they looked up. Eyes are blacker than the night. I was terrified. Terrified. I shut the door, locked the door, started going around the entire house making sure all the windows are locked,
Mm-hmm.
everything is shut, and I just sat on the couch. Like all the drapes are closed, everything, no lights are on. I just sat on the couch. Just sat on the couch. Now, do know I was someone, I guess you would connect it to like a guide or some kind of being that would help me through these years, right? And I just went, what the F was that? And they just said, stay in the house. That is an evil, evil being. Stay in the house. Because I'm too young to even register, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
too young to even understand. All I knew is the moment they walked up, you could feel, you knew you were in danger. The fact that they didn't look at me and the way they spoke, I just knew I had no idea. And so my guide would say, those are evil, stay in the house. I stayed in the house all night. By the time my mom got home from like her second job, I had one light on. One light on. I'm still on the couch. I don't even think I had the TV on. And she's like, "What is up with you?" And I told her. I told her the whole story, and you could see my mom was terrified. She stayed home from work the next day. I stayed home from school the next day. We like cleaned the house, saged the house. Like we were doing all this stuff because even though she probably didn't know what the hell I saw, she did believe it because there was never a time that you would come home and Courtney doesn't have the television on. Let's say that. And I was not sitting and reading. I was not doing, I literally stayed on the couch, Lucky. I was
Mm,
terrified to even go to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom once that night. So, not Courtney's normal whatsoever. So, never saw him again. Didn't know what they really were until a few years ago. Brad's like, "You ever heard of this thing called the Black Eye Kids?" And I was like, "No, I don't know what that is." And he's showing me all these videos, and I went, "Oh shit. I know what that is, Brad. I know what that is." Or I experienced it, you know?
mhm.
So then I actually talked to the Akashic to be like, was that real, first of all? Because I mean, I was a kid, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Courtney." They targeted me because, honest, Lucky, if anybody spent more than 5 minutes looking at me at that time in my life, you knew I was miserable. You knew I was always alone. I mean, I was suicidal. I mean, as a 9, 10 year old.
Mhm.
So I was a very prime target, and easy. I mean, they could have, let us come in. I could have taken that as I was a dumb kid who's like, "Ooh, I can play with someone." That's what they're. So the Akashic then explained all of that stuff. They were like, "Those are just bad. That's bad energy." That stuff, the blackness, I please see it more as like plasma. I don't know how to describe it because it's plasma would be like the best description, maybe
Mhm.
like black plasma that fills a body. And this is all demonic stuff, okay? Fills the body, but it's also based in elemental aspects. And then that meat suit lasts a whole lot longer. But they are just the scavengers for something very big and scary. I
Mhm.
never encountered that, but the Akashic showed me what that would look like, and I just went, no, nope, never. No, I don't ever want to see anything like that. Ever.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So they do exist. That is not like people just, that they do exist. They do.
Yeah. Well, I believe they're children because children are trusted and they're innocent and they're
Yes.
sweet.
Yes.
So they appear as children to lower your guard.
Yep.
Again, I've never seen them, but I have heard about them.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think, and it's children that have. I mean, were taken over at different time periods in history. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not like children even of today.
mhm.
That's also why. I mean, they talk weird because they don't. They're not a child anymore. They're this weird entity thing. You know, um, and but that's why their clothes might be looking tattered. They might have haircuts that are not known in today's world very much, like, because they're not from. And dude, the thing that they work for, that's how I would say it, they work for, I do think for probably many decades, years, hell, hundreds of years, like you said, because it learned to use kids. I think it feasted a lot. It's just now with all this technology and us telling these stories and getting all this stuff out there that people can become aware, and it's not happening. I do think because the Akashic showed me what it would be like if it just those kids. Then one day you're running ragged, you're running, you have no fuel left in you to even consciously understand what is going on, and then all of a sudden those kids open the door and let something in, and you're gone. I do think it probably ate very well in time frames where the technology was not there to send the message, and because it learned to use kids. Yep. Because what person is going to turn away a kid?
Well,
Yeah.
that's the big problem because there's a lot of teenage kids that are on the streets, and they're easy
Yeah.
subjects.
Yeah. And even think about different time periods of, okay, so their eyes are pitch black. That I will tell you. But if you don't necessarily, if they shy away, they don't really look at you, or maybe you can kind of see the darkness a little bit. Well, that could also look like they're malnutritioned. They might have gotten beat, whatever. If they just kind of keep away for a little bit, oh yeah, you would maybe let them in. And that's the thing. Don't let them in because they have the power to get you into some kind of like hypnotic trance state that you are just going and go. They're weakening you.
Hmm.
It's wild, man. Wild.
Yeah, they're something that I've never really run into, but I've heard a lot about them, and they're nasty.
Yeah. I was thankful though, as Scotty's like, I would run. No, thank you. I will say, I was so thankful I had the tennis racket.
Hmm.
Like, I did feel like okay, I do have a weapon. Like, that was my brain. I mean, I also was like looking at, okay, I have a tennis racket. These are loose bricks right here, because that's how my mind works. Like, where are my weapons if something goes down? And because I was kind of raised to do that, I guess you would say, where are my weapons? I was thankful because I felt at least safe enough to try to get to the door because I was holding that racket. And that racket was proving to them, no, you're not coming in here. It was wild. Um,
Mm.
just wild. Just wild. And scary. Very, very scary. To the point, like I said, I don't get scared even as a kid too much. I mean, think about it. I started with like, I have these damn demons, six of them around my bed. That was very scary. That was extreme. That was probably one of the worst or the most scariest things. The ghost train, the reason that was so scary is because I didn't really understand what was happening in the moment, and there was another human life kind of attached to that experience.
Hmm.
And that that will always scare me more, you know.
I can understand that. I mean, it's also you at least had control of the situation with the black-eyed kids, although they were horrible. The ghost train, you had no control of anything. You're just trying to find where is it coming from.
Yeah. I mean, like, I didn't know where the hell I was. The road all of a sudden turned to gravel into dirt. Like, I didn't, there was so much, um, yeah, yeah. That I gotta, we can end with this, Lucky, because this is actually funny. My mom and I got lost when I was little. I was like 8 years old, and we were coming back from a concert late at night, and we got lost somewhere in Nowheresville cornfield, Illinois. And she is so lost, and she turns down this road thinking, okay, maybe this will work and this will. And we're driving, and it turns into a dirt road, but we see like a house up the road with one light on, a big farmhouse, right? The moment it turned into a dirt road, we looked up and the sign says Kruger Road,
Ooh.
like Freddy Krueger. And we just got so scared that we were like, screw this. We're turning around. We will find it home. Because, Freddy Krueger was kind of big at the time. Anyways, that's my fun story of the adventures with my mother and I when I'm 8 years old at like 2 in the morning.
Wow.
Should we thank everybody for coming?
Absolutely. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Queen Peachy Keen. Thank you, Sumerian Sun. I missed you earlier. Lori Elderkin, thank you so much for coming. Um,
Yeah, happy
Scotty
Halloween,
Boy.
folks.
Yes, Scotty
Yeah,
Boy and
everybody.
John Price. Thank you so much. We
Yeah.
had like 14, 15 people for most of the show. Now we're down to 13, but still, that's a great showing for us.
Yeah, that is. Hey, guys, remember to go over to Stars of the Morning Light. Please subscribe to me, ring my bell, um, because Lucky and I, we bounce back and forth. Sometimes, until I get 500, Lucky and I have to pre record for Friday nights on my channel, Stars of Morning Light. But regardless, Friday night, Lucky and I are together at some point at 8 p.m., or somewhere I should say, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's either here live on Lucky's or pre recorded on mine as of right now because I need more subs, everybody. So please share it out. Show your girl some love. Courtney from Stars of the Morning Light. I'm sure Lucky's got the description or
Yep.
my channel in the description. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. So either way, come join us either here or there. Subscribe to both at 8 p.m. on Friday nights. Every Friday night. I mean, every Friday. So please do that. Send in some love. Happy Halloween, everybody. I hope this gave you chills and thrills.
I hope you didn't pee your pants. I was laughing my ass about that one. It was funny at the time, really, but then watching it later, I'm like, that's not funny. It doesn't make sense. Whatever. I'll leave it.
Oh, Lucky. Oh, man. Have a good weekend, Lucky.
Have a good weekend, Courtney, and have a good weekend, everybody. And, go in peace and go in love. And
Choose the
it's
light.
always, yeah, choose the light. The light is always
Choose
there.
the
You
light.
don't have to surrender to the negativity. Just be
Yeah.
positive and go in the world and be your own positivity. Be your own light.
Yeah. Be your own light. Amen. Cool.
Good
All
night,
right, folks.
everybody.